Heard of Q Broadcast? It's taking the world by storm. People are cutting the cord to their high cable bills and moving away from streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and others for something better. Q Broadcast. For just $60 a month, you'll get access to every channel you could ever want, including HBO, Cinemax, and Stars. And the best part? There are no contracts, no hidden fees, and you're free to cancel anytime. With Q Broadcast, you can enjoy streaming live TV, movies, and top series on up to 5 devices at once. Whether you're at home or on the go, Q Broadcast makes sure your entertainment is always at your fingertips. Imagine being able to watch all your favorite channels from anywhere, anytime, without any restrictions. We're talking about thousands of movies, hundreds of TV series, and a huge library of live channels, all in one place. And don't forget video on demand and pay-per-view events. Those are included at no extra cost, so you'll never miss a big event again. Now, take a second and think about your current cable bill. You're probably paying anywhere between $100 and $300 every month, locked into long-term contracts and hit with surprise rate increases. With Q Broadcast, that's a thing of the past. It's just $60 a month. No contracts, no extra fees, no hidden costs, and no price hikes. Why juggle multiple subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, and cable when Q Broadcast gives you everything you need in one convenient package? People everywhere are switching to Q Broadcast, saving money and getting more content than ever before. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and sign up for Q Broadcast today. Just $60 a month, no contracts, no hidden fees. It's time to take control of your entertainment and start streaming smarter.
We live in a world where men are told it's harmless. It's just entertainment. But let's stop lying to ourselves. Pornography destroys. It weakens your spirit. It dulls your drive. And it robs you of what real intimacy is supposed to be. Every click is a step away from the man you're supposed to be. We can't call ourselves leaders if we are slaves to a screen.
As someone that is prior service, I know all about discipline. And discipline isn't out there, it's within your mind. Porn rewires your brain, weakens your will, wrecks all of your relationships. It doesn't just stay on a screen, it invades your marriage, your confidence, and your actual purpose. As men, if we don't learn to discipline ourselves, we'll be ruled by our impulses. Now, it is time to stand up and take control before this silent war takes more than you're willing to lose.
Real men don't hide in the shadows of shame. We step up and we protect what's ours. We fight for our wives and kids, our own hearts. Twitter isn't just an app, it's a weapon. It's a tool used to break free and start living like the man that you're meant to be. The battle's here and it starts with you. You can stop living in shame and you can break free today.
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response. Shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling cat.
You know something is wrong, and it's time to stand up. You are listening to The John Age Show.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I'm your host, John Age. Happy to be back with you in the not-so-wee hours of the PM today, doing a daytime show, which is a little bit rare. Nevertheless, please check out anomicage.com if you've not already done so. Like all the likes, subscribe to all the subscriptions, and, of course, share those links, friends, family, loved ones, and enemies. We got a great show for you today. So I'll just cut to the chase and get us right into it. Our guest today is an American author, a freelance journalist who writes extensively on Halloween. She's the author of numerous books, including A Halloween How-To, Halloween in American Holiday and American History, A Halloween Reader, and Halloween Nation. Please welcome into the Anomic Age, Lesley Bannatyne. Thank you for being with us, Lesley. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Great to be here.
And I'm so excited to talk to you. We didn't get to talk much before the show, thanks to some technical mishaps on my end, but I love Halloween, And this is kind of a step outside of the box for what my show normally brings the audience, but I love this. I don't care. This is exactly what I want to talk about this time of year. And you're the exact person who I should be talking to. So much information and knowledge on Halloween, its history, its transformation here in the United States from all various parts of the world. So I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you.
Well, I guess, as they say, we should kind of begin at the beginning as to what is Halloween? How did it become what we know it today? I mean, I'm a Christian, point blank, but I get sort of like, I don't know, resentful sometimes because it's always kind of painted as this dark occultic holiday. And I suppose if you get to the Druidic roots and all that, yeah, I feel you. But, you know, I'd point to Easter and Christmas and look at all those bits and bobs of occultism in there as well and say, well, you know, I just don't think it's all that bad. What do you think? Give us a little background on where we're coming from with this day.
I totally hear you. So those holidays you mentioned, including Halloween, they're all Christian holidays that were once associated with a pagan holiday. So, you know, it's not necessarily a cult, I think they come from, but paganism. Mm-hmm. So that sometimes gets confused. But prehistorically, there was a time of year in Northwestern Europe, that's Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Northern England, called Samhain, which means summer's end. And it fell around November 1st, and it was the end of summer, beginning of winter, which meant it was on the cusp of the dark and dangerous season. And so because it was a feast, it was a celebration, it was the gathering of the tribes, but because it was looking into winter, into the dark, into what could be out there in the dark, it always had a supernatural element to it. So we find out about this holiday not because they wrote it down, but because Irish monks who Christianized Ireland started to collect stories that they heard and write them down because they wanted to give Ireland as big a mythology as Greece or Rome had. And so we have these great Irish mythologies that tell us about this time of year, Samhain. And so the church, you know, fast forward a couple hundred years, the church puts All Saints' Day on November 1st, a day to celebrate all the saints who don't have their own days. And it puts All Souls' Day a couple hundred years later on November 2nd to reinforce the idea that the saints could intercede on behalf of the dead, which was really important in medieval times, that you could pray your loved one from purgatory to heaven. Those are the church holidays that Halloween actually comes from, because the name All Saints' Day is also known as All Hallows. All Hallows Eve is the night before. That's our Halloween. So it was related to a church day, a church feast day, an important one throughout Europe until about the 1700s, and it starts to separate from the church and become a secular holiday. And that's when the Halloween that we might recognize is known, and it becomes a night for playing games and fortune telling and getting together with your family and telling stories and, you know, looking out into the future. So it has a little supernatural element to it, and witches are associated with it, because if you're talking witchcraft in Scotland, say in 1700, you're talking about witches. And so this little group of folkloric traditions is what actually comes across with the Scots and the Irish to North America, starting in the 1700s and 1800s. So that's kind of, it got carried over by them as a secular holiday, and became very popular after the Civil War. And the reason it became popular here after the Civil War was that we were obsessed with ghosts. And that is a time where, of course, you know, there were a lot of seances happening. There were a lot of soldiers that were missing in the Civil War, a lot of death, and people didn't know if their loved ones were missing or dead or in a hospital somewhere. And there was this huge desire to know, to look into the spirit world, to know what was going on. And here was this holiday, this kind of ghostly, otherworldly holiday. It came from an exotic place, Ireland and Scotland, and Victorian party givers adopted it, loved it, and started throwing the first Halloween parties in this country. And that's the beginning of American Halloween.
That's so amazing. And it really does connect into that spiritualism that was going on in that time frame. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, even Abraham Lincoln and his wife were involved in
Yeah.
seances. So I mean, this
Yeah.
was commonplace. It was kind of like, just a normal thing at that era in American history.
It was. Lots of people did it. Some people played at it. Some people were serious, like Lincoln's wife, Mary, who had lost so many children. It's the desire to know. And here is this movement, this spiritualist movement that says we can talk to the dead. And it just dovetailed at the right time with so many people wanting to know where their loved ones were. Where are they? And that had to do a lot with, like I said, so many people who had died during the Civil War. Everyone had lost someone. So it was a time to try to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so many people don't think of Halloween and they don't think of the Civil War as being a connecting point, but I think it's just kind of our lost history where we view a war as happening somewhere across the pond, if you will, and not here in our backyard. But I mean, that was a literal fact. I mean, people would leave their homestead or leave their plantation and say, "All right, I'm off to war," and those loved ones may not have any clue what became of that husband, brother, or so forth.
Yes. So many unmarked graves. But another thing that the Victorians picked up on, other than their love of the spirit world and ghosts and being obsessed with that, was this was like one of the first post-industrial societies. And with all that was happening with that, machines and pollution and all sorts of stuff in the cities, people were really looking for a more rural experience, something that was closer to nature or of a previous time, something that was maybe closer to the truth, they thought. And so another reason Halloween became really popular at that point was that it was seen as a rural holiday. Country people celebrated it. And so Victorians, even if they're in the cities of New York, Boston, wherever, thought, oh, let's have this rural holiday. And they would decorate with hay bales and corn stalks and pumpkins and, bring the outside inside into their city homes and have a little bit of country there, as well as the ghostliness. So they liked both things about it.
Man, I mean, I would see that connection as being so accurate today, because so many times today, I mean, you see people from the more metropolitan areas, they'll go an hour outside of town and go to a farm or go to a corn maze, I mean, all these sort of things. I think that's so important. That's that connection to the earth, that connection to the spiritual that I think people are lacking, especially now more than ever. I mean, not to get off on a jag, but I mean, people have been cooped up in the house for a couple of years now. So I think this Halloween could be, I don't know, hopefully bigger and better than it has been the past couple of years anyway.
Yeah, you're really right. It's this desire to kind of get back to the earth, or at least bring parts of the earth to you, so you have the feeling that you're connected to something older, something maybe more authentic, or just definitely something related to the seasons and nature.
Absolutely. Well, where do we get to see like so many of the hallmarks that we would see today, like the masks, the pumpkins and the jack-o'-lanterns? I mean, the dressing up. I mean, I think that's such a part of it. When I was a kid, I mean, that was the best holiday ever. It was kind of like Christmas is cool because you get all these gifts. I didn't even care about the candy. I just wanted to dress up, stay out a little later. You're out there at dark with mom or dad, wandering around the neighborhood. I mean, it was everything you wanted to do as a kid. And I think you kind of like tying back to that psychological as adults. I think it's so much of what adults want to reconnect to is that childlike innocence and that sort of being silly and crazy for at least a couple hours out of the year.
Yes. You are absolutely right there. I mean, the reason Halloween is popular among adults now as well as kids, and has been for the last 40 or 50 years, I think you're exactly right. It's nostalgia. It's kids who grew up during the golden age of trick-or-treating, maybe the 50s, 60s, into the 70s. They grow up, they do not want to give away that feeling of freedom, of running around after dark, in a cape or with a tail. There's nothing like it. It's a delicious memory of childhood. And some people can recapture that by taking their kids out. Some people can recapture it by dressing up as anything and going to a costume party as an adult. But how did that come into the celebration of Halloween? In the earliest the earliest Victorian parties, say in the late 1800s, there actually were costumes involved. You could wear a costume, and it was usually exotic. It was something having to do with night or bats or black cats or something related to the Halloween imagery. And they were handmade, of course, because we didn't have mass produced products. In the early 20th century, Halloween became a great big town-wide party that everybody celebrated, kids, grandma, grandpa, parents, everybody. Big parades, big parties, and they were all costume parties. We used to love to dress up. We used to dress up on Thanksgiving. We used to have costume parades on July 4th. We would dress up on New Year's Eve. Now, Halloween's the only holiday we have left that we dress up, unless you're lucky enough to live in New Orleans and, you know, have a costume closet. But for the rest of us, it's Halloween. And so people would dress up in all sorts of costumes, not just scary ones, and parade through the streets and have parties. And as the 20th century went on, it veered more and more towards giving the holiday to children. And that had to do with the baby boomers, and it had to do with the advent of suburbs, but and our culture in general was given over more and more to children and to younger children. So that's when trick-or-treating really comes about. It's like the late 30s and the 40s. Kids start wearing costumes and masks, and store-bought costumes and masks sometimes, and going house to house begging for candy. And that's what we all think of as Halloween, but it's pretty recent. It's less than 100 years old.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the store-bought versus the handmade, because I think that's so important too. I mean, I still got an old Indian costume somewhere that my grandmother made me when I was about 7 or 8. I don't know, but I think there's so much more value to it, and I think it does kind of connect back to that psychology of we're hand making something. We're not just going and buying it, and we're getting back to nature. We're getting back to, you know, that metropolitan versus rural. We're going back in time almost. It really is kind of like a little time machine for a moment, I think, for so many people.
Back in time and out into imagination, you know, out in, like, if you ask a kid what they're going to wear on Halloween, you don't say that. It's like, what do you want to be? Well, who are you going to be on Halloween? What are you going to be? And so for a night, you are Batman. You know, you are a ghost or a witch or a monster or a superhero, princess. You go on. It's who, and I think that translates into adult costumes too. It's like, who do you want to show the world tonight? Because, you know, you might show them a side of yourself you don't usually show, like something that's powerful, or if you're shy, it's really outrageous, or it's sexy, or it's dangerous, or it's really smart, or really clever, or really funny. So, you know, you get to whatever box you're in on Halloween, you get to come out for a night. And I think we tolerate a whole lot of stuff on Halloween because it is one night. And, you know, come November 1st, you can't have a 6-foot-tall man walking around in a peep costume.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of jokingly, but not really, with someone recently, and I was saying, yeah, it's all downhill. After Halloween, you got Thanksgiving and Christmas and Valentine's Day, and, you know, like for me, I'm just like, yeah, all right. But one other angle I wanted to get into with this was haunted houses. I think that's now that's such a part of things. And I guess, I mean, I'm just sort of throwing things in the water here, but I guess that is that connection to kind of those early era of Halloween where people wore bats and black cats and sort of all these sort of, I don't know, seemingly esoteric animals, even though they're really not. Is that just sort of an extension of that? Like, when did the haunted house kind of become in vogue, I suppose, and have something to do with Halloween?
But it's an interesting question, because at the very beginning of the very first Halloween parties that we were throwing, there was a very rudimentary haunted house vibe attached to it. So if you were throwing a Halloween party in 1890, say, and you had a big house, you would have guests enter and go down to the cellar, and it would be dark. It would only be lit by candles. And on the way down to the cellar, I've read this one account, someone would smash a paper bag over your head And another person might put a wet, clammy hand on the back of your neck. So these are elements that we see in haunted houses today, but they were part of decorations in Victorian times that, not everybody, but there was this element of spookiness and let's get scared. That's what this holiday is about. Let's get scared in a way that we understand is very safe. And always it's dark holidays, celebrated usually after dark, right? Even for children. And so all the nocturnal animals are associated with it, like bats and cats and things like that. Nighttime things, owls. But if you go forward, you'll find like the dark rides at carnivals were the very beginnings of our haunted house industry. Those rides that you get in and go through a spooky house at carnival in the summertime. But then what made them very popular was in the 70s, the Junior Chamber of Commerce hit on the idea that haunted houses at Halloween could be a great way to raise money for charity. And they started establishing them coast to coast, and they published a handbook so every town could have a JCC haunted house.
Nice.
And it became really popular and then just grew from there when other creators of haunted houses got into the business, and it grew larger and larger and larger, mostly influenced by movies and Hollywood and media, so that now we have these massive, like 20,000 square foot haunted entertainments that you walk through with state-of-the-art monsters and effects and fog and all sorts of crazy stuff. But we ask more from our entertainment now than we did, back in the 70s.
Yeah, and I can't help but think that there's probably a psychological angle to this whole thing also in the fear factor. It's kind of like for better or worse, I mean, I know there's danger out there, but for better or worse, we live in such a safe, sanitized society for the most part. And I think it's kind of that one day a year where you get to be on a roller coaster that's real life for a minute. You never know where somebody's going to try to scare you, or you never know that somebody's going to jump out, something like that. I think it's the same reason people ride roller coasters, because they know they're strapped in, and barring a disaster, they can go over to some loops and high speeds and low speeds and just the ride ends, you're safe. I think Halloween kind of pegs into that sort of adrenaline rush that we want, but we don't necessarily want to go through, maybe Central Park at 3 a.m, but you'll go on a spooky ride, and you'll subject yourself to the sanitized fear, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you feel it for real. So, when someone jumps out at you, you get that rush. And when you made it through and you're fine, you feel great about it. It's like, creating this little group of warriors to go through a haunted house and succeed. So there's something about that too, that you challenge yourself and you're victorious. And there's something really good about that. It's catharsis. It's theater, right? Halloween is a lot about theater. And this is one part of it. It's cathartic. It makes you feel good afterwards. And I think you're right in that it's fun. And this is the one time of year where you can kind of put your arms around everything that's scary and control it. Whereas other times, maybe you can't control what's out there. You just can't. And it happens. Towers fall, banks go bankrupt, levees break. But now on Halloween, you can just wrap your arms around everything that's scary and control it, and it's all for fun. It puts a little light into all that stuff that you can't control.
Yeah. I mean, you get to kind of be the hero in your own movie for a second. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and we'll kind of touch on this, how Hollywood plays into this, but when I was a kid, it was kind of like, oh, are we going to that haunted house? Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it. Like the guys especially, oh, yeah, we've done that. It's not scary, it's sort of weird, immature machismo that happens in adolescence sometimes, but I think it transcends into adulthood too. But I mean, kind of playing into the media side of this, I think the media was so integral with the development, evolution of our Halloween. And I don't know how far back this kind of connects in, but I remember a lot of those movies in the 70s and 80s where it said, can you survive the fill in the blank, or banned in 3 countries, and fill in the blank. So it kind of played into that macho drive, and also with the ladies as well, like, oh, I don't know if we could sit through. Oh, we're gonna watch it. Kind of plays into all that stuff.
Yes, again, the early horror movies like Frankenstein and Dracula that were released in 1931, those black and white classic monster movies, they were not associated with Halloween. It was like nobody thought of Halloween and horror together. Um, Frankenstein came out on Thanksgiving. Dracula came out on Valentine's Day.
Really?
It
That's
wasn't
awesome.
until 1978's John Carpenter's Halloween that Hollywood and the rest of us put Halloween and horror together. Until that time, Halloween was eerie, it was spooky, it was mysterious, it was magical, scary. But after the movie Halloween, it was also bloody and violent and visually dangerous. So it really did change the face of Halloween, but it also brought a lot of adults back into celebrating Halloween because there are lots of fans of horror out there. And those people became fans of Halloween, and the celebration of Halloween got a lot bigger and a lot more adult after all those horror movies started to feature Halloween.
That's so interesting. I didn't really realize that the horror movies weren't always kind of connected with that. I know, coming out on Valentine's Day for Frankenstein, that's amazing. Man, so I don't know how to frame this one, but I mean, it seems so. It seems like bacon and eggs right now, but I mean that sort of shift really just happened with Halloween, with that John Carpenter film. Is that where it really sort of delineated into horror movies connected into Halloween?
Nothing is ever finite like that.
Oh yeah.
Nothing's
Gotcha.
so clear, but I would say that was a big moment, and that movie, because he made it so cheaply, unleashed a whole slew of movies that were horror movies, that were violent horror movies, which you mentioned throughout the 80s and then into the 90s, and now the horror factor has just gotten much more graphic since then, and the number of movies that are set on Halloween or make reference to Halloween have just strengthened that tie between bloody, scary Halloween and bloody, scary horror movies. So, even the costumes after that movie came out, you got all the serial killer costumes that became so popular after that you can be Freddy or Jason on Halloween. So there was definitely a marriage of those two, Hollywood media and Halloween, the actual holiday.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing I was going to touch on before we left it today, is the costume angle and that big change in costume. Because I remember when I was a kid, it was kind of like this. I was telling my daughter this, kind of like this rubbery plastic costume came in a box, and you had this really lame mask that stapled with some rubber bands on the back, and that was kind of it. I mean, it was a meme recently, like showing a classroom in '85 or something, and all the kids for Halloween kind of had that costume on. But it's changed so much. I mean, just the amount of money and the marketing, I mean, it's got to be tremendous now. I think I was researching this a little bit last night, and I think it was like number 5 as far as the big spender holidays, which I was thinking it should have been probably 2 or 3, but I don't know. It's gotten very commercial, and I think those horror movies kind of played into that for sure.
They definitely did. All media does now, though. I mean, TikTok and Instagram inspire costumes now. The costumes have always followed along with popular culture. So, your costumes in the big age of radio would have followed that. Your Little Orphan Annie. And in the early television, you're the Three Stooges or Minnie Mouse. And then up through the movies, through the horror movies, into all the movies that are popular now, all the things that are popular in our culture now, which, it's not just movies, it's everything else, all media. And costumes will represent that. But costumes, you still can make your own costume. And you can be a lot more current if you make your own costume, because, costume people can't see more than a couple months to make the costume.
Yeah.
So if something happens today and you want to comment on it on Halloween, you've got to make your own costume. And some of those are just brilliant.
And it's so kind of funny, the longevity of some of those costumes. You mentioned the Halloween movie. It's like over 40 years old now, and Michael Myers is still a staple costume at any store you want to go to. Basically, it's very funny. Well, I know we don't have much time left, and you got a lot of different books that people might be interested in. what's kind of the Cliff Notes version of where you would point somebody that's just kind of, man, I want to get a Halloween book. I mean, we got a couple weeks left.
I would say,
or a
if
couple
you wanna
days
know
left. Excuse me. Good grief. Couple days left.
if you want to know about Halloween today, like how big it is, how it's celebrated, who does it, and why, I would go to Halloween Nation, behind the scenes of America's Fright Night. I went out for a couple years and just talked to people who are in the Halloween making and creating business. That one's fun. Or if you want to know the history of Halloween from 2,000 years ago till nowish, Halloween, an American Holiday in American History is the one. If you like the literature, it's a Halloween reader.
That sounds great. Well, Lesley, I hate to leave you, but we got to go, I suppose. So where's the best place people can follow you? I got your iSkullHalloween.com link up here. Is there another one that might be more accessible?
That's the best one. You can always find me on Facebook. My name, Lesley Bannatyne, or yeah, that's the best place to find me.
Sounds good. Do you have any upcoming books or stuff you're working on now that people might kind of teaser people with in here?
Oh, you're nice to ask. I have a collection of short stories that came out this year. They're not Halloween related, but they are what I'm excited about right now, today.
Nice. That sounds beautiful.
It's called Unaccustomed to Grace, and you'll see it on my website also.
Okay. Yeah, and if anybody missed that, it's going to be available in the show links as well. Well, if you'll stick around for about 30 seconds, I will close up here and talk to you and say goodbye off the air.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, folks. Man, if you missed any of that, anomicage.com. We got to get Lesley back on to talk more Halloween. I could talk about this all day. I kind of love these topics. Love it. So, anomicage.com is where you're going to be able to find today's show, the video, the audio, as well as all past shows. Best place to go. You never know. The social media censors me quite often, so it'll be up there. This one will be, I think. It's sanitized for your protection. Nevertheless, you can't do everything, but you we're sitting at 2:37 Eastern Standard Time. Please check out anomicage.com if you've not already done so. Like all the likes, subscribe to all the subscriptions. PayPal.me/anomicage. Patreon.com/anomicage as well. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to laugh. Just I make myself laugh from time to time. Yeah. PayPal.me/anomicage. Patreon.com/anomicage as well. We also got a new lightning link. So you can shoot me some Satoshis, some Bitcoin fragments, if you will. That's available right there at the home page as well. Free iPhone app, free Android app, free newsletter. Every single show I've ever put out from start to finish. And some of those old ones, for me, are kind of painful to look at, not necessarily listen to. The production quality has increased gradually over the short lifespan of this show, so thanks. Also want to thank Dale Smith once again for being on the show again this week, and also for just doing what he does for helping out greatly with this show. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Dale, so much. You know who you are. You know what I mean. So thank you so much, man. But you don't want to hear about that now, do you? You want to hear about the show, the meat of the matter, the heart of the matter, as it were, and that's what we'll get into this evening. There's I don't know. I don't really have the clearest of game plans this evening, and I hope it's not going to be reflected in the quality of the show. I always have so much on my mind, and sometimes, well, more often than not, kind of coming at the show or coming at life in general from a bit of a melancholy standpoint. I tend to think about death a lot, if I'm being real with you. I tend to fixate on the dark side of the force. I've been working on it, but it just happens sometimes. So we'll get into that a little bit this evening. Oh, before I even get into that, I want to thank Matt Landman. He's been on the show several times, and his site, if you want to help him out, he's got several, but I'm going to plug this one, SpiroProtectionClothing.com. If you want to go to the homepage, anomicage.com, you can look up Landman or look up Matt, and he will come up pretty darn quick in my search there at the homepage. And I can't recommend his stuff enough, specifically his clothing, but also he's got some very informative other links up there as well. Can't recommend any of those enough. Thank you so much for the toboggan. That's what we say down south. But some people just refer to it as a beanie. Whatever. Thanks for the hat, Matt. That's what I'm trying to say, my man. Thank you so much. As well, I recommend all of his memes. His memes are spot on. He's on Facebook when he's not getting kicked off and censored. You can find his stuff there too. So here I am plugging other people's stuff, but hey, you got to support the right people. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll just say support the right people. Support whatever that means to you. Other stuff I wanted to get into, and this is an odd turn in the show, but what the hey? The death of Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis, 87 years old, died I guess yesterday, since I'm coming at you darn near 3 a.m. Jerry Lee Lewis is dead, folks. That's what I really wanted to get into at the start of the show. And an odd place to turn the wheel for many of you, but for me, not so much. And we'll kind of work that into the show this evening. And I'll discuss the importance of music, the importance of, I would say this is the influence of pop culture, but the influence of music specifically on our society. And we'll get into that a little bit this evening. For me, Jerry Lee Lewis brings up so many memories, so many thoughts in my own mind's eye. And I don't want to confuse, I think, my own thoughts with the reality, or I suppose the reality for many that was Jerry Lee Lewis. Because I've read some articles on his life, on him as a person. I mean, there's all sorts of accusations from him being a murderer to his very, I suppose, well-documented struggles with prescription drugs and alcohol. So I'm not going to frame this as if I'm a fan of the person, perhaps, that was Jerry Lee Lewis. Definitely a fan of his music. And I think more specifically, in linking into the topic at hand, the memories that his music brought forth. I've touched on this a few times before, just the notion of our senses being so influential and so intrinsically tied into our thought processes, our patterns, our mind. And I've said this many times on the show, but for better or worse, perception is reality. So, I may not be a fan of the man, perhaps, or at least the stories that I've heard about the man, but his music, make no mistake about it, a fan. And if for no other reason, for those memories that it represents. For me, when I hear Jerry Lee Lewis, it's just all about my childhood. It's all about growing up next door to my grandparents, spending so much time with my grandfather, and playing that record. I got the records over here in the stack somewhere, but playing one of his records so many times, sort of in the back room there at my grandparents' house. So that's what it resurrects for me. Definitely brings up a lot of thoughts of my grandfather, a lot of just nostalgia. And that's one of the other topics du jour that we'll delve into this evening. So we'll get into that, but we'll also sort of tie into censorship a bit. So I'll spend a little bit of time on both, and I'll try to encapsulate this somehow within a 15-minute segment. I don't know if it's possible, but we'll give it a try. So I'll just sort of jerk the wheel back onto the road, and then we'll take a turn off-road a little bit in a minute and talk about something else. But censorship is definitely should be the topic du jour of everybody in media in general. I'm not just talking about alternative media. I'm just not talking about folks with podcasts or radio shows or any of that. I mean, just anybody within media. Censorship should be pretty darn important to you right about now if it wasn't before. So some of the obvious stuff I'll sort of work broadly and become more focused here if I can. Breaking. This is from the Gateway Pundit. PayPal has reinstated its policy to fine users $2,500 directly from their accounts if they spread misinformation. So seems like I need to get another way for people to donate to my site. And I would be happy to just say this. I don't know all the eccentricities, the ins and outs, the best places to go for what have you. So if you got some suggestions for non-globalist, non-communist, some sort of payment platform that's not going to try to steal my money, because it definitely appears I'm going to have to distance myself quite quickly from PayPal, because I think I've said a lot of stuff that they would probably deem misinformation. Possible, see. It's just the facts, folks. But, you can't step outside of the orthodoxy of the cult or you shall be shunned. So that's exactly what we got going on with this, just level one of the insanity. We'll throw the ball downfield and hit it up right about here. This is from BusinessInsider.com. Newsmax cuts ties with Lara Logan after her QAnon-inspired on-air rant about world leaders drinking the blood of children and making people eat insects. It just goes to show you just can't speak the truth in any form or fashion, I suppose, huh? So Lara Logan no longer welcome on Newsmax. Huh. How bizarre. How bizarre indeed, isn't it? And here we go again with censorship. We got censorship on the monetary side of things. We got censorship on the just you're no longer welcome on our show side of things. We got the legal warfare a la Alex Jones, where he's getting fined. What do we got? Over $1 trillion or something? I don't know. Whatever the latest levies are pegged against Mr. Jones. And anytime you mention his name, there's all sorts of vitriol and backlash and what have you. So I'll just succinctly say it just like this so you can understand me quite easily. I don't really give a Rudy Poo what you think about Alex Jones or what he says. That don't make a hill of beans to me because it's not important. I don't care if you think the show trial is a show trial. I don't care if you think it's a legitimate trial. I don't care about any of that malarkey, to be honest with you. Because as I said at the beginning of the show, perception is reality. So it doesn't matter what I think or what you think. It's what is perceived as legitimate. Just as what we've seen with PSYOP 19 for almost 4 years now. Reality is of little consequence. It's the perception of the reality that is the problem. So just as the PSYOP 19 was just in fact that, it was a big old PSYOP. Did people die? Sure. Was it as it was presented? Not even close. So the perception was the reality. Reality was not the reality. So just as with the Alex Jones trial, it doesn't matter what I think or what anyone thinks. It's what is popularly perceived, because that's where the rubber meets the road. That is where you are going to get the reaction. Not the action, but the reaction. So that's what you're going to get from that. And people are lost in the trees or what have you. I don't know what the devil everyone's problem is. You know, I mean, it's all a show trial. It's all conspiracy. It's all false flag. It's all not real. It's all, yeah. I think the reality lies somewhere in the middle. So, you know, I'm not even going to weigh in on that. I don't really give a hoot, really. The bottom line is, if they can censor him, which they did years ago, they can censor you. If they can censor a president, they can censor you. If they can censor the litany of others that they have already censored, then they can censor you. So there you go. We got, what is it? The new owner of Twitter, I guess that finally went through. So we got old Elon Musk as the new owner of Twitter, and he goes through and does a lot of firing supposedly in the first day. You know, I don't know, Bo. I just don't care. Just don't care at all. What's hilariously ironic is the golden parachute that was pulled by all these people once they hit the streets. You know, the two biggest of names there. What do they got? These settlements or these golden parachutes in the millions and millions of dollars. Please, can you fire me too, Elon? Can I get some of that Quan, my man? Anyway, just thinking out loud. And then we got to go into the deep end of the pool. Come on, what in the world here, folks? Go to the deep end of the pool, and we got to talk a little Kanye, a little yay, if you will. Yeah, he's censored everywhere, folks. He's got his payments taken down, lawyers not wanting to represent him. Adidas no longer on board. He apparently has, he's gotten dropped by everyone. He is persona non grata. He is the definition of word. And I was looking up just a litany of articles about him in the last 48 hours. And I thought this one was kind of poignant. So I pulled this one up at the top of the stack here. From Variety, Kanye West has no record company or publishing deal. How will he release music? And I think that question gives you a big answer as to really what the devil Kanye is talking about. He's talking about the control of the media. I don't give a Rudy poop, once again, if you agree or disagree, or if you're someone, I don't care at all. I ain't talking about that. It doesn't matter to me. What he's really talking about is the control of the media. And that Variety article is quite poignant in exactly that. It's telling you that. They're saying, we've taken it all away, Kanye. We've taken away your ability to talk to people almost, except he's still got his, I guess, some other platforms he can put material on and some other hosts that are willing to have him on. So he's got a little bit of a platform, but they're saying, oh, no, we're going to take away your publishing and your record deals. We're going to keep just tightening the vice until you shut up. That's what it boils down to, folks. And if you're wondering what the heck is going on with me itching my neck, I don't know either. It feels like there's some tag poking me in the back, but I have no tag. So I don't know. I don't know if this is some sort of psychosomatic thing or what, but we'll get into that too. Yes, we will. So I think the question posed in that Variety article really does say it all, doesn't it? It's the control of the media. It is the control of the opposition to the narrative. It is the control of information and thus the control of education. And when you control the information, the education, and all forms of media, you have indeed controlled your present and your future. You've controlled the present because you've censored what people are allowed to see. And by censoring what people are allowed to see, learn about, and thus think, you have indeed controlled the future. Yes, y'all. Am I making sense yet, folks? Because that's exactly what's going on. Indeed, control. We'll say it again, folks. If they can control the present and your perception of the past through the control of history, then you have controlled the thinking and you have controlled the future. That's it, man. That is it. That is it. That is it. It. They're controlling the present, the past, and the future through the censorship of all forms of media, through the control of the populace by shunning these various individuals that say things out of orthodoxy, out of the cult's orthodoxy. It's the same mess in Scientology. It's the same mess in Jim Jones' cult. It's the same mess in any cult you want to mention. And that's where we are in our society. That is our culture. That's the culture that we are in. Because you can't spell culture without cult. And that's what we're in, folks. Believe it or not, that's exactly what we're in. Because it doesn't really matter what Kanye says. It doesn't really matter what Alex Jones says. It doesn't matter what I say, what Trump says, what Laura Loomer, what Milo Yiannopoulos says. Doesn't matter what any of these people say. It don't make a hill of beans to me. If they are spouting the most racist of white supremacy mantras, or if they are spouting the most conspiratorial, we're all just ants in a ant farm, what have you. It makes no difference to me. Right, left, something I agree with, something I disagree with. It doesn't make a hootie pootie what they say, folks. It's their ability to say it. It's their ability to say what they want without censorship. That's what it's about. Because censorship is preventing you from hearing, seeing, understanding, and thinking these certain things. That's what it is. And that's the reality that we live in. That is the controlled reality that we live in. That is the, like I said before, perception is reality. If you have been held captive and are no longer able to see just the normal reality, then you're a captive. You're a captive slave. They got you. They have controlled your reality. They have controlled your perception of reality and thus controlled your reality. That's it. That's exactly it, folks. And if you look at our reality right now, I don't even know how much of our reality is legitimate. You got CIA, NSA, Tavistock Institute, all these various incarnations of the alphabet soup boys on this side of the Atlantic, on the other, and all parts in between. You got to ask yourself, how much of our reality is reality? All of it, folks. People are always quick to throw up these, is Kanye controlled? Is Alex controlled? Is it all controlled? It's all just a dream, right? It was all a dream. Yeah. You have to ask yourself, is it all a dream? I don't know. These are questions to ponder within yourself. And I've pondered so much lately about the dark and the esoteric, the evil. My mind always goes back to the life and to the death. It really does, folks. Because those are the two big equalizing factors to it all. It really is. So we got to figure these things out for ourselves. I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm not here to mandate anything to you. I'm saying you should have the ability to speak, and you should have the ability for others to hear your speech. That's what free speech is really all about, isn't it? At least that's what it used to be all about. And I was speaking with Lesley. I'm always going to mess this. I'm trying my best not to. Lesley Bannatyne today, talking about all things Halloween. And I wanted to get into that a little bit too, because something she mentioned was quite poignant in the direction that I wanted to go to this evening. I think it was very influential into where I wanted to go to this evening, because she was mentioning that Halloween is a day that's a lot of freedom. It's a day where you get to be something you're usually not. It's a day of spooks and scares and just all around fun for most people, I think. I mean, there's the uptight crowd, which you can't, and I don't even care. I just don't. I just really don't. But she said something pointed to me, and she said that Halloween is sort of a reflection of, or at least I should say the costumes of Halloween are a reflection of our current reality oftentimes, especially the homemade ones. Because Halloween is always topical, or at least it used to be. I don't think it really is anymore. But I recall, and I'm sort of waxing nostalgia and a bit poetic here now, I suppose, but when I was a boy, it was very topical. It had characters of the day. I mean, when I was a kid, it was, or at least my fixation on it when I was a kid, was the cartoon characters of the day. So you could be everything from a Smurf to a Transformer to a G.I. Joe character and the like. So it was very topical for the day. And I think as I've gotten older, I'm seeing that a little bit more and more, or at least grasping it a little bit more and more when I look at the political characters of the day. You know, you can get your Trump mask, you could get your Obama mask, and you could still get all kinds of unsavory Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton sort of costumes, if you will. But I think that's very accurate. I think that's very telling that it is, or at least once was, quite a topical holiday. I don't see it being that anymore. It just isn't. It's a very dry, bland, living in the past sort of holiday at this point in the game. All the spooky characters, all the incarnations that you'll find in typical Halloween stores are not relevant. They're of yesterday. You got the Michael Myers, the Jason, the Scream, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and all these things. If you look back at these, most of these are characters from 40 plus years ago. They just are. They are, folks. And I've touched on this before because it's in the same way that most of what you hear on the radio these days. And I guess I understand it because the millennials, especially the younger ones, don't even know what a radio is. So it's kind of giving my own age away a little bit. But most of what you see and hear in our media is old. It's old, folks. I mean, I think most people want to see things that are from that bygone time, from that bygone era, when things were simpler, when things were more predictable and easy, where every day you weren't just holding your breath, kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop. I think that's where most of us are right now. So much of the television, so much of the TV shows and the movies are old movies. And I think that's because, much like we talked about today with Lesley Bannatyne, making stuff up. Bannatyne. We do long for that simpler time. We do long for that connection to the past, to the earth, even if you get into a lot of the Halloween. And I think that is where we are as a people. We are nostalgic. We are nostalgic because our current reality is so terrible, so fouled up. People are listening to music from 30, 40 plus years ago, minimum, They're watching TV shows from the 80s and 90s. They're listening to, if they happen to be in the radio, on the radio station dial, if you will, they're not listening to anything current because the current stuff is crap. Just as the current movies, television shows, and so on are complete feces. And I think Halloween is just that sort of 24-hour reprieve, excuse me. That little 24-hour reprieve from our current reality that we can all sort of get behind and embrace, or at least some of us can. I don't know. But I think the greater elephant in the room is the fact that our whole reality is kind of predicated on nostalgia now. It's all old because the current reality just stinks, folks. If you think about this, if you look at the 1960s, were they listening to music from the 1920s, 30s? No. And they had music then, folks. They had great music then. I'm not saying any of it was bad. I'm not saying anything disparaging about that. But that's where we are now. We're in the 2000s, in the 2022 right now. And people are listening to music from 60 years ago because the new stuff is garbage. Me and my wife about to go on a date night tomorrow. We're going to go see Dawn of the Dead. We're going to see Dawn of the Dead. Not some horrible remake, because that will be ridiculous. We're going to see the old one. Yeah, the movie theaters, I don't know if they are doing this in your town, but they've been playing a heck of a lot in our town of old movies. We saw Jaws about 3 weeks ago, and during the previews, I suppose, portion of that show, they were showing upcoming stuff. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're playing Dawn of the Dead in the movie theater again. This is great. Count me in on that. I don't see any new stuff because it is Boulder Dash, but I'll go see old stuff all day. Just like I'll listen to old music all day. Just like I'll watch old TV shows, not from this century, all day. And it's because our current reality is dung, folks. That's it. That's really what it all boils down to. So for so many of us, we're living in the past. We're living in the remnants of the republic. We're living in what used to be, not what is, or sadly, what's going to be if things come to pass. And I got no crystal ball that's working. I don't have any idea what is coming. All the hallmarks seem to be very clear harbingers of things very dark on the horizon. I don't think voting's the answer. I don't think it is. I went and voted today, and it's kind of an exercise in futility, much like it always is. I think for about 4 years, we just kind of were living under some stupid notion that voting mattered. Anyway, I went out there and did what I do. I went and voted. I went and urinated in the wind, most likely, but what have you. Got the job done. We'll see if it counts. We'll see if it matters. Who knows? Anything to turn the formerly great state of North Carolina even a modicum in the right direction is what I'll do. So went and did that. We'll see how that goes. We'll see. But to the point, I think all this matters. I think perception is reality. I think a lot of us are living in the past because our current perception of our reality is dark. Just a little silliness a couple of days before Halloween. Got a lot of Halloweenish kind of records, and got a lot of those old, where are they from, like the 60s, 70s, and 80s records where they have these wonderful spooky stories for kids and adults. I'm not a kid anymore, but I love the spooky stories. So be listening to a little of that. They like to play the what is it, the things in threes. I can't remember what that is. It's not a quatrain, is it? I don't know. Anyway, they tend to like to say things in threes. So I'll play up that notion a little bit for you this evening. So we've gotten into censorship. We've gotten into Halloween just briefly, and we've gotten into this nostalgia for nothing. I don't know if the past was as good as we believe it was, or if that's just fool's gold in our brain where we like to reminisce that things were better than they really were. But I can tell you one thing for sure, that the present reality is not so good. I hope the horizon is better than I think it's going to be. I hope the election counts, and I hope people vote for non-communist, non-satanic death cult candidates. That would be my wish anyway. I suppose we'll just have to see. We'll keep having to live in today's dream and hoping it does not signify tomorrow's end. We'll leave it there this evening. You can't do everything, but you can do something. Be safe out there, folks. I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.